Over its 8 seasons, Game of Thrones dropped multiple storylines seeded early in its run, but few were as heavily trimmed as Daenerys Targaryen's visions in Cartha's House of the Undying. In George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, this moment is steeped in layered prophecy, political intrigue, and deep lore surrounding the warlocks of Qarth. On HBO, it became a condensed, eerie set-piece stripped of much of its original scope and mysticism. The Forgotten Warlocks of Qarth. By the time Daenerys arrives in Qarth during Season 2, the city's warlocks have long since lost their former influence. The House of the Undying is their seat of power, home to ancient, withered beings who sustain themselves by drinking Shade of the Evening, a blue-lipped, hallucinogenic brew they believe grants visions and mystical insight. In Martin's books, The Return of Dragons reignites magic across the world, restoring some of the warlocks' waning strength. Daenerys, as both Mother of Dragons and a source of raw magical energy, becomes a target. Her capture would not only empower the Undying Ones, but might allow them to reclaim their former dominance. Even outside Qarth, Shade of the Evening's influence echoes. Euron Greyjoy, for example, drinks it in A Song of Ice and Fire to induce visions and forcibly administers it to his brother Aeron in the Winds of Winter preview chapters, using it as a tool of psychological control. Prophecy lost in adaptation. In A Clash of Kings, Daenerys' visions in the House of the Undying span far beyond her own life. She sees her brother Rhaegar with Elia Martell, speaking of the prince that was promised and the Song of Ice and Fire, lines that fuel decades of fan debate. She glimpses a cloth dragon, widely interpreted as a false Targaryen claimant, perhaps young Griff. Another vision shows a corpse with bright eyes and gray, smiling lips, an image many connect to Euron Greyjoy. The HBO series kept only a few symbolic images: the ruined throne room in King's Landing, snow or ash falling from above, and a vision of Khal Drogo with their unborn son. These moments carried emotional weight, but stripped away the prophetic richness and political complexity that Martin wove into the sequence. Why it matters. The omission narrowed Daenerys' arc in 2 ways. First, it downplayed her role as a focal point for magical resurgence, a living nexus of arcane power drawing the attention of factions across Essos. Second, it removed foreshadowing that tied her fate to the broader tapestry of Westeros magic, prophecy, and political upheaval. In Martin's books, the visions are ambiguous, open to manipulation by the warlocks, and crucial to the saga's central mysteries. By cutting them down to personal, self-contained images, Game of Thrones lost the chance to connect Daenerys' journey to the deeper mythos of the world, and with it, some of the series' most tantalizing hints about the endgame of A Song of Ice and Fire.